And as indicated, more South Africans are expected back from Sudan. And for that, let's cross to our reporter at the OR Tambo International Airport, Khayelihle Khumalo. Khaya, very good morning to you. How many more South Africans are we expecting back in South Africa? And we believe the Minister, Naledi Pandor, will also be there to assist at the Waterkloof Air Force Base. Tell us more about that.
Well, absolutely, Lebo. So we're expecting quite a very significant number of South Africans to make their way here at the OR Tambo International Airport. Yesterday, you saw about 10 South Africans who were evacuated in Sudan, and a lot of them really, they were talking about the very precarious circumstances that to endure, but also just the complexities in terms of the evacuation as well for the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, because really they had to deal with a number of hurdles. They had to deal in some instances with some of the evacuees who had no travel documents, and that's when the South African diplomats in Egypt and also in Saudi Arabia, they came very handy in terms of facilitating the movement of the South Africans. But also, Lebo, we do understand that some of the neighboring countries as well, South Africa has been very helpful to make sure that some of the evacuees as well from the neighboring countries within the SADC region are being assisted. But also in the main, like you said, the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Dr. Naledi Pandor, is going to be here at OR Tambo International Airport to officially welcome the evacuees. So far, the number that has been bandied about, Lebo, is that 77 South Africans have all been evacuated from Sudan. Of course, it is a great deal of concern. A lot of them really, when we spoke to some of the evacuees last night, they were indicating, that they still intend to go back to Sudan, provided that there is stability. But so far, in terms of the mediation efforts, Lebo, we do understand that, for example, South Sudan President Salva Kiir has been very instrumental approaching the two generals, the main protagonists in this conflict, General Al-Burhan and, of course, General Hemeti as well, saying they should really engage and try to cease hostilities.
Seem like there is an end to the hostilities, as you said, and even though those South Africans are saying they have every intention to go back, are they indicating of how long they're going to be back home, because there is no indication of when this war is going to end?
I suppose that is $1 million question, Leo, as to when exactly they're going to go back to Sudan. At this particular point in time, it remains a very volatile situation. So a lot of them say as soon as the situation calms down, they really do intend to go back to Khartoum and many other cities in Sudan. But at this particular point in time, it is indeed a great deal of concern for so many Sudanese as well, who are forced now to flee. A lot of them now, they are internally displaced, and others are heading to the neighboring countries such as Chad, Central African Republic, Egypt, Saudi Arabia as well, especially Saudi Arabia. I mean, they've been very instrumental in terms of the evacuation efforts, where they've provided the warships and many other vessels to try to facilitate the movement. But also in this particular time as well, we're going to get more details from Minister Pandor and the team in terms of what they had to really just undertake in terms of their concerted efforts in making sure that this process became as seamless as possible. But also they really had to work with a number of organizations, the likes of the Gift of the Givers, albeit they were not on the ground, but they were able to facilitate in terms of the movement from the buses, but also heading to Egypt as well. We do understand that some South Africans literally just fled Sudan, and they went to the Egyptian border, and when they got there were a number of challenges that they had to deal with, and that's where the South African diplomats were very instrumental in terms of really just engaging with the Egyptian authorities in terms of making sure that they are able to go through. So far the word that is out is that all South Africans are really safe and they've been evacuated, especially because, I mean, it's been quite a very unpredictable situation, Lebo, where in some instances the convoys of the evacuees from other countries, they came under siege because it's a very unstable situation in Sudan.
All right, Khayelihle Khumalo, thank you so much for the work that you do at the OR Tambo Airport, of course, chatting to us about the South Africans expected back in South Africa from Sudan because of that conflict in that region.